Greetings, people of Earth. Welcome back. My name is Jax, and today I want you to take a minute, pause the video, and I'm going to ask you a question, and I want you to really think about it and come up with some terms, okay? I've wanted to do one of these videos for a long time. So the question is, who are you? What is your self-image? How do you see yourself? So just take a minute, think about it. Now, I think a lot of us experience a really negative self-image. You know, we are constantly critiquing ourselves. We are constantly looking at the last social interaction we had and going, oh, that was not my best work. We are constantly, critiquing our bodies and our minds and every little insecurity within us. We're telling ourselves that we're not good enough and, we need to try harder. And the negative self-image is like that voice in your head that's saying, you're just not good enough. You never will be. And I don't think we realize how detrimental that is and how 99% of our problems come from that self-image, come from that little voice in our head saying, try harder next time. Because if you think of any problem you have, whether it's an insecurity, you're fighting other people, you're, dealing with gossip, you're dealing with drama or people just being mean, any kind of situation, that all comes back to you and it hits you with that self-image. Your self-image goes, see, told you, this person doesn't like you and thinks you're fat or not attractive or, slimy or standoffish or flaky. And, you reaffirm the problem. Whereas if you had a good self-image of yourself, or if you're trying to cultivate positivity and that little voice is saying, oh, you're a good person. When something bad in your life happens, when something like, a girl gossips about you or something, and your self-image hears that and goes, well, that's just wrong because I'm a good person and I don't really care what she has to think. That's coming from her own insecurities. That's not coming from me. That has nothing to do with me. 99% of the time, people's problem that they have with you isn't with you. It's with them and what they see in themselves or with what they're going on and going through in their daily lives. And so we come back to self-image. So if I'm going to be honest about my self-image, when I wake up, I'm really trying to cultivate this idea of who am I as a person? I'm a person that loves my family. I love my friends. I love the world. I love nature. I love animals. I love interacting with things like that. What do I not like? I don't like chemicals. I don't like big corporations sort of weeding their way into our daily lives. I don't like the way social media makes me feel disconnected. I like when it makes me feel connected. I like connecting with people, but I don't like when it makes me feel like I'm not good enough. I don't like it when I'm on a celebrity's page and, they're going off to some gorgeous trip across the world or something. And I feel like, what am I doing? What am I doing with my life? Am I not good enough? Should I be going down to LA all the time? I don't like those things. And having like a strong self-image of yourself and saying, I'm a person that works hard, that is always there for my friends, that listens to the people in my life who need help and give the best advice I possibly can. Having like a very concrete self-image is a really good defense when bad things happen in your life, when difficult situations or sort of toxic drama happens, when things out of your control happen, even when you just have a really bad day. When you have a bad day, you sort of put it on yourself. And again, that negative voice comes back and says, you deserve having this bad day. You deserve all of the struggle and the difficulty because you're just not good enough. If you were just more positive, if you ate healthier, if you worked out, if you did all of these things, you wouldn't have a bad day. You deserve this. And that negative image makes your bad day 1,000 times worse. It just multiplies the difficulty and the struggle. And what so many people, I think, don't realize is how much they have survived, how much they have gotten through. The fact that, and I've said this before, but the fact that you are still standing at whatever age you are, and if you just look back at the incredibly difficult situations that you have been through, whether it's through family, friends, stuff you were born with, stuff you've had to navigate, traumatic events, all kinds of stuff that you have been through, If someone else was watching the movie of your life, they would be rooting for you from day one. You know, they would see every single obstacle you hit and then you overcame and you got through and you survived. And they would say, man, this person has such endurance and such a powerful image of themselves. You know, they know who they are. When in reality, you don't know. You're like, oh my gosh, I don't know who I am. But it's in there, you know, like that self-image is inside of you. It's inside of all of us. And it comes through dealing with adversity, having success, learning new things, trying new things, experiencing the world. And we don't give ourselves the credit for it. We don't let the little voice in our head hype us up and talk about how awesome we are and how strong we are as people. And that's a real shame, because you cultivate that self-image and you become pretty unstoppable. There's one thing that I've realized in the last little while. Anybody worth listening to online, social media, business, technology, politics, any of those people that inspire you or make you feel like, man, that's an impressive person. The one culminating factor in those people's lives is they know who they are, or at least they make you think that they know who they are. You know, you look at that person, you go, man, they have a strong self-image. You know, they are confident, they are powerful, they are determined. In their head, they might see it and go, oh my gosh, I don't know who I am. I'm just making it up as I go. Or they might say, yeah, no, I know who I am and I'm positive and I'm working towards the future. But from the outside, it always looks as though those people know who they are. They have a sense of self. And that kind of cultivation of self, it sounds so hippy dippy, right? Cultivation of self, you know, it sounds like it should be a spiritual retreat or something. But all it is having a good understanding of who you are, what you've been through, and, you know, understanding your story arc. I've said this before as well, but if you see your life as a plot in a story, in a book, in a TV show, whatever, if you see it as, you know, a series of chapters, a series of events and locations and characters and, you know, character growth, you can have a much better sense of self. You know, take your favorite television character or your character from a novel and ask yourself, does that character know who they are? And is that one of the reasons why I like this character so much? You know, if you take, you know, somebody from Friends or whatever, you kind of get the sense like this character might not know exactly who they are, but they're working through it. They have specific character traits. They have been through the highs and lows and the drama and all of that. And because that they have this sort of outward appearing, completed version of themselves and who they are, we're really drawn to that. We're really drawn to people who know who they are, or at least give us the impression they know who they are. Because I'm convinced that nobody knows who they are perfectly, because we're always growing and we're always changing. But again, having that cultivated sense of self, really powerful. And I think one of the things, if I ever become a dad, if I ever become a parent, one thing that I'm going to be very aware of is trying to make my child aware of who they are. You know, so if my child, say, this is like all hypothetical, obviously, my child draws a picture, you know, and you know kids' drawings, like they're usually really cute, but they're not exactly in line with whatever they're drawing. You know, they might be drawing a spaceship and you might think it's like a pine tree or something. But, you know, if they like bring me the drawing or something, they're like, hey dad, like, look what I did. I think one thing that I really want to instill is I want to say something like, that is so you. Oh my gosh, like that is so you. Whatever they draw, you know, they've been thinking about, they've seen in the real world, they've interacted with, and they've thought, that is something that's so interesting to me that I'm going to put it on paper. And so when your kid shows you a drawing or whatever, or a friend shows you anything, and you say, man, that is so you. That is so awesome. You know, that's great. It's so you. That helps reaffirm, I think, and I'm no psychologist, but I think that would help reaffirm a sense of self. And it would, you know, they could look at it again and go like, yeah, that is who I am. You know, that is awesome. I'm interested in this thing. And I'm, you know, and I think it's so hard. I think our society means, like, the way it's set up, the way it's structured with school and the sort of, you need to hit these certain milestones by certain times, It means that you don't really cultivate a good sense of who you are until you're like in your 50s or 60s. You know, when I meet somebody in their 50s or 60s, I always get this sense of they know who they are. You know, they're really not afraid of what other people think. They have cultivated who they are. They've been through so many experiences, you know, twice as many as I have been through. And they have this kind of, it's not so much confidence as it just is a really good sense of who they are. And they're really not afraid to show people, you know, they're happy with who they are, hopefully. And, you know, obviously is different for everybody. But I think that's one thing that really hits me when you meet older people. My 4 grandparents, all in their late 80s, 90s, they all have like a very good sense of self. You know, they really seem to know who they are and they're confident in that experience. And I guess it does take experience, but I am convinced that it is possible to foster that positive self-image from a young age. And I'm also a huge proponent of the idea of you can develop your sense of self at any age. And all it takes is just identifying like, oh, I have this voice in my head. I have this self-image talking to me and, you know, expressing certain beliefs, whether they're positive or negative, telling me I'm not good enough or I'm good enough and I need to keep trying and I will achieve what I need to achieve. And it is so possible to do that at any age. You know, you meet some kids and you go, man, like that kid knows who they are. And that is so cool. You know, they're confident. They have this positive image. You know, their parents just hit it out of the park, I guess. And you know, they've got to take some, like the kid has to take some credit themselves. But I think we've all met that one kid that like really impressed us, that we were like, man, this kid knows who they are. This is so cool, you know? They say the darndest things. It's amazing. And it really makes you think like, man, what happens? Because there's something that happens between the ages of like 8 and 22 that kind of strips that away from you. That kind of strips that and makes you feel insecure and makes you feel like you're not good enough. And, you know, you're sort of changing and transitioning into adulthood. And yeah, it's kind of a bummer. And then it's not until you're in your 40s or 50s that you start really like, who am I? You know what? I've been through enough trials and tribulations that I kind of know who I am. And I know that I don't like this and I really like this. And I'm going to just keep on trying. And I think that is one of the most amazing qualities when you meet somebody and they immediately, you know, you just go, man, they know who they are. That's pretty cool. That's pretty impressive. And it's something that you always have to work on. You always have to develop. It's not a static, it's not a still pond. It's always moving. There's always a current. There's always stuff going on underneath. So that is my 2 cents for today. I hope that at some point today, you're able to tell yourself, you know what? I'm doing good. I'm working. I might struggle now and then. I might end up eating 3 Big Macs in a night and, you know, not liking myself very much, but that's who I am and that's okay. And it's okay to have these little stumble blocks. It's okay to deal with unexpected, you know, problems, but I'm just going to keep on going. And one day I will get there. And the journey is the most important part. So with enough of that emotional and motivational speeches, I feel like I should be on one of those posters saying like, you know, just hang in there. Anyway, thank you so much for listening. Let me know what you think. Leave a comment down below. If you want to follow me on Patreon or any of the other places, go do that. Links are below. And as always, guys, I will talk to you tomorrow.